Hello, I'm David Breeden. I'm the Senior Minister at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, a historically humanist congregation, and this is Coffee and Wisdom. This week, we are looking at dreams in philosophy and religion, specifically asking about what is the connection between religion and the understandings of the subconscious. Hello, I'm David Breeden. I'm the Senior Minister at First Unitarian. And today, I want to talk about divination, one of the great reasons that people looked at dreams in the ancient world, and sometimes today too. I want to start with a direct quote from the Catholic Encyclopedia, where you can look up such things as, what do Roman Catholics think about dreams? And it says this: modern theologians, whilst profiting by the progress of psychological research, continue to admit the possibility of dreams supernatural in their origin, and consequently the possibility of dream interpretation depending on supernatural communications. As to the ordinary dreams, they readily grant that because the imaginative faculties of man require sometimes a keenness which they do not possess otherwise, it is possible in such cases to conjecture with a certain degree of probability some future events. But in all other cases, by far the most common, it is useless and illogical to attempt any interpretation. As a matter of fact, dreams are now, we speak of civilized peoples, they say, seldom heeded. Only very ignorant and superstitious persons over the dictionaries of dreams and the keys to the interpretation of dreams once so much in favor. There is little need nowadays to revive the laws and canons enacted in past ages against divination through dreams. Well, that's all very interesting, isn't it? The Roman Catholic Church, as is the case with miracles, can't really say, no, they don't exist. That would call into question the entire structure of the Roman Catholic Church and Christianity in general. So they have to kind of walk a middle path and say, yeah, this does happen, but for most people, it doesn't really mean anything, right? And there's a little bit of an implied threat here at the end. There's a little need nowadays to revive the laws and canons enacted in past ages against divination through dreams. So we won't go back to enforcing those laws because people aren't paying that much attention to dreams anymore. Well, yeah, that's true among Roman Catholics, but it's not true among many Christians. For example, you can get your dream symbols dictionary, which the Catholic Encyclopedia just said shouldn't be used, right? And so that you can interpret the symbols you see in your dreams now. All right, so there you go. You can get yourself a dream symbols dictionary online. So dreams is divination, seeking knowledge of the future by supernatural means is what divination means. And by the way, many cultures did believe this in the ancient world. It's mentioned in ancient Egypt as early as the 1900s before the Common Era, a while back. Regularly, it's mentioned in classical Greek literature and philosophy. It's standard practice in the Roman Empire period, recorded in Babylonian texts as early as the 600s BCE, recorded in India in the 500s BCE. And of course, this is when it's written down. It probably is much older than this. This is just the evidence the texts give us. It appears often in Hebrew scripture, as I discussed yesterday, and we'll discuss a little bit more in a moment. It occurs occasionally in Christian scripture, not nearly as much, because there had been a kind of turn in Jewish thinking toward away from the idea that dreams should be used. And they were forbidden by the Prophet Muhammad in the 700s. Don't do that ever anymore, says the Prophet. So let's look at this. One thing, the importance of dreams. Your dreams are important messages from God. This is from the same website I mentioned before, and a lot of Christians do believe this is the case in the United States today. And again, you can hire someone to interpret your dreams for you. Well, let's look back a little bit, as I mentioned, into Hebrew scripture. This is 1 Samuel chapter 18. If you don't know the story very well, David is up and coming as a leader within the Hebrew tribes. Saul was, however, chosen as king, and here he is facing a huge army of Philistines, and he was afraid. And his should be heart trembled greatly. When Saul inquired of the Lord did not answer him, not by dreams or by Urim or by prophets. Now the Urim are these two little discs here that were worn in the actual vestments of Hebrew priests in that time period. If they needed a quick answer from what God was thinking, they could use these as divination devices. I don't know how, throwing them, tossing them, seeing which one came up. I don't know, but there you go. That's the Urim and the Thummim, by the way. There's two of them, the light and the darkness. So Saul can't get any voice, any idea of what's going to happen with his army, not by dreams or by Urim or by the prophets. Then Saul said to his servants, "Seek out for me a woman who is a medium, so that I may go to her and inquire of her." His servants said to him, "There is a medium at Endor." Of course, Shakespeare goes to town on the witches of Endor. And what had happened is Saul, historically, apparently, had condemned the use of these mediums. But when push came to shove, suddenly he wanted to talk to one. And so they found one for him. And of course, she actually conjures the dead prophet Samuel, who says, "Dude, you're going to lose this battle. Too bad for you. You have been breaking too many rules." So that's the story of poor Saul, who will be dead within a few verses here. But the problem with condemning the whole idea of divination or saying it was old superstition is a little bit of a problem for the people of the book, that is Jews, Christians, and Muslims, because the entire wellspring of all of this story goes back to Genesis 18. And it says this: "As the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram," he will later become Abraham, "and a deep and terrifying darkness descended upon him. Then the Lord, Yahweh, as I mentioned yesterday, said to Abram, 'Know this for certain, that your offspring shall be aliens in a land that is not theirs, and shall be slaves there, and they shall be oppressed for 400 years. But I will bring judgment on the nation that they serve, and afterward they shall come out with great possessions. As for yourself, you shall go to your ancestors in peace. You shall," dying in other words, "you shall be buried in a good old age, and they shall come back here in the fourth generation, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete." The Amorites being one of the, what would later be called the Philistines, the tribes in Palestine. So here's the great promise to Abraham that begins the whole thing. And wait a minute, it's in a dream. So we can't say, if we're going to take this seriously, that dreams never tell you anything. That's a pretty specific dream. And of course, it is the story of the Exodus out of Egypt later with Moses and all of that. So there you have it. Part of the tradition just keeps going on, and we'll be talking more about religion and divination tomorrow. Wednesday night, Bibles and Beer, a humanist Bible study, 7 p.m. Central Time. And this week with Reverend Wendy Jerome, a Bible scholar, and she'll be talking about two different things on Wednesday night. One, the truth behind Sodom and Gomorrah, with studies of et cetera. And why was Abraham always saying his wife was his sister? That's kind of odd. There are some reasons for it, and Rev. Wendy will be looking at those Wednesday night. Thanks for tuning in. You can help us by going to firstunitarian.org/donate or to PayPal to keep the voice of humanism strong. And we'll be back tomorrow with some more divination and dreams. Thank you.